fundamentally, we look at those and go, well, okay, what are the things that you need? And there's 5 or 6 key areas, and most of them revolve around 3 key areas. One is mitochondrial function, which is energy.
Behind the practice.
Welcome back to Behind the Practice. I'm Katie Brinkley, and today we have a very special guest of Zack Varkaris. Zack, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Thanks, Katie.
You know, I've been really excited for this conversation because you're making a very bold claim that menopause can be paused or even reversed. Let's talk about that.
Okay, yeah, it's a bold claim. The thing is, sometimes we have to make bold claims so that we can have the talking points, you know. So, but yeah, we have found a way to extend menstrual cycle or mitigate the effects of onset of menopause, and we have in some cases reversed some of the effects of menopause. That's all I can really say. I mean, we have done that. I mean, how we've done it, so you want to know how we've done it? We take stem cells and we take exosomes and we mix them up, the patient's own stem cells and exosomes, and we mix them up in a special formula, and we re-inject them back into the ovaries. But I think the real question is, why do you want to do this? I mean, why do you want to have menopause? Or why do you want to delay menopause? I think that's really where we came about from that, which was that
Let's wait around.
when you look at it biologically, there are 5 species that have menopause, right? The other 4 are all marine mammals: whales, dolphins, elephant seals, I think, or elephant, whatever they are, something like that, yeah. And then humans, no other primates. So, okay, why does it matter? Why does it matter if a woman goes through menopause? Well, as you know, probably, that a lot of female health issues are regarded as cosmetic, not even essential, which I find strange and frankly wrong. And so the thing is that with menopause, after that's the single biggest rate determining step of aging. After menopause, women age in every category: bone density, muscle mass, hydration. They start getting arterial plaque in their bodies because their bodies are not designed to carry children anymore. So therefore, they're basically, they're not needed as much in that sense. And we can argue how that came about, but what we can say is that the reality is women aren't dying at 45 years old or 50 years old. We're living to 100 years old. Half the world is run by women. It's just a fact. So it makes sense that we extend the quality of life. You have a doctor or a scientist and she's 45, 50 years old at the peak of her powers and she gets brain fog. Imagine an anesthesiologist getting brain fog in the middle of an operation. That's serious. We as a society have invested in those people as well as they're investing in themselves, and I think it's important. So that's why we did it. And I think that's really more important, is why we've done it rather than how we've done it. I think the how came after the why.
Well, your why was so fascinating to me. We had the opportunity to have lunch together the other day, and you shared a little bit of your story, how you met your wife in the Philippines while surfing. And would you mind just sharing some of that story? Because I feel like your past really says a lot of your personal why as to why you're so passionate about this.
Well, it's just I was 45 years old at the time, and she was 40. We got pregnant straight away, just purely by accident. We were talking about it, but we didn't think she'd never been pregnant before. It just happened, and we thought it was normal. We just had no idea. And then all of a sudden, when we spoke to some of the doctors, it's really rare. I was like, what do you mean it's rare? I had no idea. And then we started to look into it, and the fact that there are lots of issues with fertility, and fertility comes in not only just having children, but the effects of being fertile keep you functional and longer for a longer time. So we just thought, well, I had a kid on the way. I thought, what am I going to do? I better have a job, and I had a job that I had lined up, and which I didn't really like, and I need to look at something where I could look myself in the mirror and feel proud about what I do, and just what it was. So that's what I did. Got involved in the clinical trial in 2018. I mean, full disclosure, I have a background in, I have a
Yes.
degree in marine and molecular biology, and I've been working in that area on and off for a long time. It's just not primarily in this area, and just looked at it and discovered that there was a really important section of the market that mattered. And the fact is, it's very important. It's
extremely important. And when you say reverse or delay menopause, are you talking about hormone levels or symptoms, or what exactly are we talking about here? Because menopause can be a wide range of symptoms.
Yeah, great question. Funny enough, I had a little set to with a doctor here yesterday about this, and he was really hammering on this. He's got to do it this way, you've got to do it that way. Well, the reality is menopause is a series of symptoms, and those symptoms come from a series of processes that you have. Hormones is one of them. There are also some other areas but hormones is the big one people look at because they're easy to measure. But there's also things like gut biome that create hormonal levels, that create brain scans. So when a woman goes through menopause, her brain starts to fire in different angles, so different ways rather. And so therefore you want to sort of mitigate the effects of menopause. So yes, there's two parts of it. Is it about having children, or is it about living longer? Well, the answer is we're primarily about living longer, fuller lives. So we look at hormonal balance, we look at these sort of effects and symptoms you can have, which is, we have these categories broken down into bone density, hydration, sleeping through the night, libido, focus, emotional and hormonal sort of balance, which is a bit of a strange one, but I'll come to that in a second. And also muscle sarcopenia, muscle mass loss, and also eyesight. So these are all symptoms that can happen, and obviously the obvious one, which is having monthly cycle of bleeding. So fundamentally, we look at those and go, well, okay, what are the things that you need? And there's 5 or 6 key areas, and most of them revolve around 3 key areas. One is mitochondrial function, which is energy. So you have to look at it through what we call the 3 laws of longevity, which is fundamentally reproductive organs are the foundation of extended life. And the second law is the effect emotions have on aging. And the thing about the effect emotions have on aging, people think it happens on its own. I manifest myself, my willpower will sort me out. Well, that's not true. There's a number of things that happen. And the third law is no body or metabolism acts in isolation. So what we do is we look at the weakest link in your chain and find what that is. But fundamentally, it revolves around mitochondria function and energy. It revolves around hormonal balance, and then we look at the markers of aging: arterial plaque, blood sugar, eyesight, muscle mass and tension. So, and everyone falls into different categories. There's not one size fits all. It's more a few sizes fits nearly everyone.
So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about hormone replacement, or are we talking about stem cell? So what are we talking about actually fixing and reversing menopause?
Right. Great question. What we do is we focus on ovarian rejuvenation, right? 60% of hormones from women come from the ovaries and the surrounding area. The other 40% comes from the adrenal gland. So after menopause, the hormonal levels start to drop significantly. And because they drop significantly, it stands to reason, let's reboost the hormones. Now, there's a number of people that talk about bioidentical hormones, so on and so forth. What we've done is taken your own bone marrow, we take it out, we process it live at whilst you're actually on the outpatient clinic, and then we take exosomes and we mix them together, and we put them back into the ovaries, and we measure the follicle stimulation. So basically the follicles get stimulated, FSH levels, hormone levels go down, estradiol increases by 30% endogenously, not some other hormone panels, not some patches, not some pills, your own body. We're showing your own body how to extend elements of your fertility and longevity as it stands. And so not everyone does that. Not everyone hits every single category all the time, but they do hit a significant baseline that is improved.
So people might be listening to this right now and be saying, okay, this sounds amazing to be able to delay menopause. What data do you have backing this up and supporting it?
Great question. So we've been this trial's been working from a follow-up from a PRP trial we did in 2018. PRP, I'm sure you've heard of, and now vampire facial. Not particularly effective for what we needed, but the technology, the delivery mechanism was what we used. The data we have at the moment, we had 130 patients go through the procedure of some description. We've had an 85% response rate or positive response rate. All of the patients have had shown increased levels of mitochondrial function, as high as 87% in aerobic mitochondrial function, wow. And 56% glycolytic mitochondrial function. It seems to be so successful that some of the mitochondrial companies are willing to sponsor us to do more studies. So it must be working in that sense. We've had an increase in estradiol by 30% on average. Again, the sample sizes are quite small because we're measuring 1 year afterwards.
Yes.
So some people are still going through different areas, but we have 30% increase or 28% increase in estradiol, E2. We've had increases in testosterone, but that's also happened prior to the procedure, because a lot of what we do is we make sure we get you what we call set up for that.
What?
And then the last but not least, which no one really talks about, is everyone feels great. They sleep through the night, they feel great, their libido's back, and they're like, and a lot of these women are having issues with, young children or teenage children, older parents. They've got careers. They're struggling. They're like, I'm sleeping through the night. Like, what's wrong?
And that can make a world of difference, just being able to sleep through the night.
Sleep through the night. That's what matters. And they feel energized. They feel, they feel great. I mean, that's basic. But the thing is, the problem with a lot of what we talk about, everyone talks about the science. Well, feeling is a science too. How you feel is important,
What do you say to people who might be saying, well, menopause shouldn't be messed with. It's a part of life. What do you say to the skeptics?
It's a family channel, so I can't respond how I want to say. But okay, I'll say this: from a biologist's point of view, it doesn't make sense that we have menopause. My honest thought, and it's just an opinion. It's not a fact, right? It's just a hypothesis. But that maybe the humans that survived hundreds of thousands of years ago just happen to be menopausal, right? And these are the ones that survived, and we've made it work for us as a society. But the body itself, the nerves and the bones and the muscles will last hundreds and hundreds of years on their own. But obviously things like reproductive organs die or age much more quickly. So there seems to be a sort of correlation where why is it aging? And we can extend them quite easily. Now, again, what is nature? Nature is the best compromise. Whoever's living at the end of the day is the one that survived. That's nature. What is natural? I mean, we're wearing clothes. Why don't we just not wear clothes? Why don't we just run around in caves? We're under lights and microphones. This is not natural, right? The reality is, what matters is it safe? Is it effective? And does it have a use for us in our society right now? And I think the answers to all of those is yes, yes, and yes.
So if someone's listening right now and they say, this sounds amazing, I want to, I guess, temper expectations. Who is not a good candidate for this protocol?
If you've had a full hysterectomy, obviously we can't really do very much. You can if you still have your ovaries, or even partial ovaries, we can. Also, if you've had cancer, we can't. And we measure all of these things. We measure for cancer markers. We do a full analysis documentation. And what we actually do is we offer a full DNA scan, blood tests, Freudensteiner test, the emotional side that we talked about earlier, and the bone density. So we can give you a plan, a full blueprint, plan for how you can progress forward. But those who are not eligible would be those who are seriously overweight, but we can help you get fit. We can do that. If you're diabetic, but even then we can work with you, but we'd have to. We can always work with someone if they're willing to work with themselves, but fundamentally you can't.
You got to be doing the work. You have to put the work as well.
We're not going to work with you if you're not going to work for yourself. That's a given, absolutely, because we spend a lot of time and effort putting this together as a team. But cancer markers, obviously, is full hysterectomy, and then if you're doing drugs or you're alcoholic or drug addict or that, we're not going to.
Yeah. You put in what you get in what you put out. So if this were to become mainstream, how do you envision this changing women's healthcare going forward?
Well, I think the healthcare itself is changing because we are going to a preventative model as opposed to a curative model.
That's all right.
And the thing is, a lot of the comorbidities that happen with the menopause and the effects of aging can be prevented, because what you do is you're pushing out the date at which things like bone density goes down. So once your bone density goes down, if you fall over, you break your bone. You break your bone, you're invalided. Then you eat too much, you comfort food, you build up arterial plaque because you eat too much bad food, because your hormones are not getting rid of your plaque because you're menopausal. Then you also have the emotional issues that cause that. So you have spikes in cortisol, spikes in adrenaline, which has an aging effect in it, but it creates a spiral. So what we're trying to do is be preventative, and I think looking forward in the future. So I think how it changes women's healthcare is, if you spend X amount of money, you will get Y amount of results, but you're preventing it. You've got to think ahead. You don't close the stable door when the horse is bolted. You want to do it beforehand. So look in your 30s and your 40s. That's the time to, ideally in your 20s, but realistically 35 and above is great. Not coming to us at 55. It's hard. It's much harder to work with people at 55 and also you might not need us then. But if you're in the system and you say, right, let's get a full test, and we give you a full analysis test, you can go somewhere else if you want, or we can keep you updated. These are in the improvements. This is how we've improved the stem cell, the autologous stem cell extraction, or we can do booster shots, or whatever it may be. But you've got to know what your baseline is first. So the future of healthcare, no, it is already here, of healthcare, is knowing your baseline and knowing where you're coming from, not going, please fix me, and you have no idea what you were like before, because you've lost track of it. So the sooner you can baseline, get a full report, which is things that we offer, of course. That's exactly what we offer. And that's a very cost-effective way, because you've banked it. And the other thing you can do at that time is you can bank your DNA as well. There's other things you can do where you can store that for later if you need it. Yeah. And without being extortionately expensive. No copay issues or insurance like that. But that's where I think the future is. So it's basically finding your baseline, and being preventative rather than curative.
Yeah.
And that's where I think.
I love that, being preventative rather than curative. Well, Zack, this has been an incredible conversation. I could talk to you for hours. If people want to learn more about what you're doing, they want to get in touch with you, where's the best place for them to go?
Go to our website, austinbiotech.com. I'm sure you'll put the links in the bottom. Is to click a talk to us there's a button. Fill out the form is the best way, because I know people go, I don't want to fill out a form. If you don't fill out a form, we can't talk to you meaningfully. Otherwise, it's just sending a load of messages is not going to work. So to check that out, you can go there and fill out form, talk to us. The other way as well is to go onto our Instagram, Austin Biotech, and you can see some of the clicks of some of the podcasts, long form podcasts I've done, and some of the other members of the team. There's also one or two of the patients who are now starting to do their own testimonials that are going to be on our website and stuff like that. So the best way is austinbiotech.com. Fill out a form, and a member of our team will get back to you.
Well, Zack, this has been an incredible conversation. I really appreciate you joining us all on Behind the Practice.
Thank you.
Behind the Practice is produced by Next Step Social and Podcasting and hosted by Katie Brinkley and Sean Quintero. A special thank you to our guests today. This episode was recorded live at the Boston BioLife Functional Longevity Summit. A special thank you to the team that helped make this podcast happen.